I invite you to just pause and take a deep breath with me. Let go of the rest of the day. Just find yourself here where you can ground in. And we could learn, grow, and evolve out of this anxiety together. So we could be clearer, we could be more confident, and we could be present here, right now. So a few weeks ago, I dropped a video about cognitive behavioral therapy and how beneficial it has been to me in my journey of healing anxiety, to really get an understanding of the negative feedback loops that I have gotten caught up in with my obsessive compulsive thoughts, and just understanding how my feelings work, how my emotions work, and understanding my core beliefs around some of the things that I have experienced. Now, in that video, I mentioned the 3 steps of cognitive behavioral therapy. And the second step was examination, right? The first step was breathing so that we could change our state, create space between ourselves and whatever is triggering us, so that we can observe and look at objectively the reaction that we're having in the second step, which is examination. And the second step, I mentioned something called the funnel, which is what my therapist taught me. I did not come up with this on my own. It's simply a tool that really helped me evolve, and I wanted to share it with you. The funnel is a way of understanding the reactions that we're having and where they are coming from. So the surface level ways that this fear might be showing up in our lives, and understanding what the root of it is, what the core of it is. Because you know as well as I do that if you just cut the leaves off of a tree, is the tree gone? No. It's grounded, it has its roots, it has the body, and then it has the leaves. The leaves are the top. So I want to explain this as clearly as possible. So I'm going to give you an understanding of how I see it from the root all the way up to the fruit, up to the canopy. Okay? So the core, the most bottom part of the funnel, and I like to look at this funnel as a tree, the most bottom part, the roots, are our foundational fears. In my case, one of my main foundational fears, and it's quite common as you might find out, my foundational fear is the fear of not measuring up, the fear of not being enough for other people and for myself. And typically our foundational fears, again, the root of this tree, our foundational fears are learned, right? Through conditioning or through trauma that we have at a young age. And I will include that video on conditioning and how I say anxiety is not our fault. That is where our foundational fears are coming from. They're learned. So for example, the fear of not being enough, the fear of not measuring up, it can come from my home life when I was a child, maybe just my mom not trusting me. So the foundational fears typically come from conditioning, trauma, from our youngest selves between birth and roughly 5 to 7 years old. That's our shaping grounds. The next layer up, so we've left the roots, the next layer up is our reaction body, okay? So what's growing out of those foundational fears? For me personally, the fear of not measuring up has actualized itself or made itself into low self-esteem or low confidence. That might sound ridiculous because I'm sitting here with you talking on camera in public. However, my self-esteem shows up in different situations. So social situations, romantic partner situations, how I conduct myself in public settings. It has showed up in low self-esteem also in my own trust in myself. So I have found myself dependent on many other people because of the fact that I haven't had my own trust in myself, that I can actually show up for me. Okay? And so that low self-esteem is the trunk of the tree. Okay? And it is the part that is now going to give way for the canopy, for where the fruit comes from. And the third piece, right, now we're looking at the top of the funnel, is our actualized fear. those actualized foundational fears, even if they're irrational, right? The fear of not measuring up could very much be irrational, right? You measure up, you determine that. And so the canopy, the fruit, is our actualized fear fruit. So mine shows up in the way of, I have a couple examples, but one is taking things so personally. My fear of not measuring up in my low self-esteem comes and shows itself in taking things personally. So if I'm in a conversation and they say something to me which they didn't even intend for it to be directed at me, I immediately become defensive or offensive because I feel triggered now because I feel like I was taking it personally, like they meant it towards me. When really, that's not the case. At least not in every situation. In most situations, it's that person's funnel playing out. It's that person's fears playing out, and they're projecting it on us. And so it's really important so that we understand these cycles that are playing inside of us and showing themselves by taking things personally. Another actualized fear fruit that I have, again, the canopy, one that came up for me based on low self-trust, low self-esteem, was a very deep fear of suicide, of committing suicide. Sounds crazy, I know, but it's real. You might have experienced it yourself. And the reason that this showed up is because I was not trusting myself that I can work through this, that I can evolve through this fear, through this foundational fear that was coming up for me. And as time goes on, when we understand the funnel and use it in the bigger picture of cognitive behavioral therapy, that is when we really start to evolve and recreate our funnel. So instead of being controlled by our funnel, we are controlling it. Now that's really it for the funnel. That is the main understanding. And this is used in the examination step. So you just quickly run through it. When you become triggered, you do your breathing and visualization to change your physiological state. And I made a video on that. I will include that somewhere above me. And then you get into the examination phase where you understand or you look at your self-talk, the feelings that are coming up for you, the emotions that are coming up for you, so that you can see how the funnel is playing out, how these foundational fears are playing out. Again, going to the deepest core root of that reaction so that you can understand it. And then the third piece is evolving out. So creating a new response instead of reacting based on this conditioned foundational root fear. So that's what's most important here. And a couple other things to mention about cognitive behavioral therapy is that cognitive behavioral therapy is a really challenging or takes a lot of time skill to acquire. So I did not learn this on my own. Instead, I went to a therapist who taught cognitive behavioral therapy and who determined that this would be a tool that could be really beneficial for me. And so that's what I would recommend to you, is finding a therapist who offers this. Again, I have my article on how to find a therapist that works for you and not just any old therapist, so that you can really be supported in acquiring this cognitive behavioral therapy tool. It takes time, have patience with it, and over time you will start to have this awareness grow between your authentic, truest core self, your spirit, your soul, and this conditioned self. So you're becoming aware of how these reactions and these conditionings and these traumas are playing out. And so that you don't react to them as often. You're changing your relationship to them. That's what this work is all about. So have patience. If you need a reminder on how growth takes time, you can watch that video as well. I am here and I'm doing a lot of this work every single day with myself. So we are here doing it together and supporting each other, because at the end of the day, this work might be really, really challenging, but it's so rewarding. And I say that in every video because I want you to know just how rewarding it could be. And it might take time before you recognize those rewards, but you will recognize them by putting in the work. Again, So much love for you guys. Thank you for supporting me by putting these videos out here and just by coming to watch them. It's appreciated more than you might recognize. And again, if this is a video that you think somebody could benefit, please share it with them. Please share your experiences with cognitive behavioral therapy if you've tried it before, or just ask me questions about step 1 or step 2 or step 3. I am dialing into each step with a specific video, one on breathing, one on the funnel and examination, and one on evolving and elevating. That's what we're here to do. Learn, grow, and evolve together. I look forward to seeing you in the comments or on my Instagram or perhaps in the next video.